Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to do a little bit of science. So we've all probably propagated a pothos, but I want to know what is actually the best method to propagate. I typically use the water method, but we also have sphagnum moss here that we can use. I also want to try soil, and I want to try propagating in perlite. We're going to test multiple different types of pothos in each of these 4 methods. We'll put them all in the same proc box, and we'll see which one roots the fastest and the best. Let's get started. So for our different pothos varieties that we will be using for this experiment, we have the Enjoy. All of these were taken from the same plant. For this experiment, I'll use 4 nodes from the same vine to eliminate any other variables with leaves that are about the same size. Next one, we have our Queen Marble pothos. Next, we have the Baltic Blue. This one is more of a unique pothos. When the leaves get bigger, they do get fenestrated, similar to a monstera. We have the Neon pothos, another really common one. And then probably the most common, a golden pothos. So first, to get started, I'm going to cut each of our little nodes and make the selection of which plant we're going to use. Like I said, I want to cut some of the same vine with similar size leaves. All right, so these 4 are going to be our Pothos Enjoy. This is our Baltic Blue. That will be our 4 of those. Next will be our Golden. Use these. And next we have our Neon. This is a good one. That will be our 4 for our Neon. I'm going to use these little bottles for our water propagation to make sure all of them are filled the same amount. They're all the same glass bottle, so there'll be no variation in that aspect. So we'll fill all of these guys up. It's always helpful to have these Swedish dishcloths because they will just soak up all of the water. I washed all of these glasses, so there's no extra schmutz in any of these. So this will be our first set. Enjoy. Baltic Blue. Neon, Gold. We'll put a little bit more water in our Neon here. So that node is covered. All right. Next, for the perlite ones, I have these little plastic cups where I drilled holes in the bottom of them so that the water will flow through. I will fill each of these with perlite. Once we have them in our propagation box, we'll get them all potted up or all watered, but for now, we're just going to stick that node into the perlite. Next, we have our sphagnum moss. So for these ones, we're going to wrap the node with a little bit of the sphagnum. Put a little bit of it in our little cup. You don't want to pack this in too tight so that our roots are able to breathe. And then throw a little bit on top. All right, and for our last set, we have our soil mix. So this is made of cocoa core, cocoa husk. We have a little bit of perlite in here, and we also have some systemic insecticide and neem fertilizer. This is the normal dirt that I use when potting my plants. We're going to see how that works with unrooted nodes for all of these for this experiment. Okay. We have all 4 samples of each type of pothos. Now we're going to put them in our propagation bin. This will help keep the humidity up and make sure they all are growing in the same environment so that we don't have any extra variables. Then we'll put our lid on and put it on our shelf and come back in 1 week and 2 weeks to see how they're doing. All right, welcome back. It's 3 weeks after we put our propagation experiment into the box. I did switch it to a smaller box right after I put it in the bigger one, just because I needed some more room. But this is what they all look like right now. I'll pull the camera in closer so we can take a look at which one of these substrates helped these plants root the best. Let's get into it. All right, so we'll put our soil ones here. Sphagnum moss. Oh, that was a perlite. So perlite didn't stand very well. And then water. All right, so these are all of our options. We have our 4 different varieties of pothos with our 4 different varieties of substrate. So let's start with the easiest one, which is water. So our neon pothos has a nice root there, just a single root. Our pothos enjoy has a couple little guys shooting off there in the water. The golden has an offshoot there, nice and long. And then this is the Baltic blue. So we have another nice long root there. So that is how those guys look coming out of the water. Decent rooting in 3 weeks. Now we'll do the perlite. As you can see, some of the perlite plants fell out. So I don't know if it's the best experiment, but that's why we did multiple samples so we can see. Our Pothos and Joy didn't get anything, but I don't know how long it was out. I didn't really check these bins. This guy is our Golden. He fell out, but he does have a little bit of rooting there. Definitely smaller than the water propagation ones. All right, and we have our Baltic Blue. It doesn't look like he has very much, maybe a little bit of a start right there, but not really a whole lot, definitely less than the water propagation. And then our Neon, it seems like we have something here. So yeah, our Neon has a couple roots coming out. You see the 2 roots there. So definitely some rooting, but less than the water so far. So far water is winning. All right, now we'll try the sphagnum moss. So our little Neon here, it's definitely rooted pretty well. And gently pull off the moss. All right. So this guy has a little root coming out there. Seems like a nice healthy root. Here's our Golden. Definitely some rooting there. Pull off the moss gently. We have little roots there on him. Here's our Baltic Blue. We definitely have some rooting there as well. This is definitely more tedious than water since you have to pull it off. We do have a root growth there on him. And then our Pothos and Joy. These ones seem to root slower just based on the other samples. This guy does have a root coming out. So all 4 of those have rooted, and it's about 1 inch of root on each of these, whereas some of the water ones are like 2 or 3 inches, and the perlite, for the ones that did root, there is about 1 inch. All right, and then the last one is our soil samples. So we'll start with our Neon. We do have a root there, kind of a smaller root. I would say about 3/4 of an inch. Our Baltic Blue. These ones are definitely easier to get out than the moss. This guy, we have about 3/4 of an inch again on him. Here's our Golden. A much smaller root on this guy, I'd say about 1/4 to 1/2 of an inch. And then our Pothos and Joy. Another little 1/4 inch root. So looking at all of these options, it seems like for Pothos, the best rooting method for propagation is water, with the sphagnum moss coming in second. The perlite seems to work okay, but it is just more challenging to keep the samples in the actual perlite cups. Maybe that was an issue on my behalf. And then the soil does work, but it's just not as fast as water. Here's another closer look at those. So this is the soil samples. This is the sphagnum moss. This is the perlite. And this is the water. I hope this experiment helped you to decide how you want to propagate your pothos. Let me know what plants I should try this experiment with next, and happy growing!